everybody. Oh my goodness. I have been interviewing Jennifer for the last 3 minutes and didn't realize that I hadn't taken the stream live. So hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Learn with Jason. Today on the show we have Jennifer Wadella. How you doing, Jennifer?
Doing well. I'm really sorry that y'all just missed out on the secrets of the universe, but it's something we can never discuss again. So you're just gonna have to wonder.
I cannot believe I just did that. That was, oh boy, that was a special kind of silly. Yeah. All right. Well, if that's any sign for how today's gonna go, it's gonna be a great day. So I guess for folks who are not familiar with you and your work, do you want to give us a little bit of a background on you?
Yes, as soon as I stop getting spam phone calls, let me disconnect my headphones real quick. I was like, make it stop, make it stop. Oh God. Okay, sorry about that. So we are both on top of our game today. It's gonna be a good stream.
Killing it. We're doing great here.
Oh man. But I'm Jennifer Wadella. I am the director of Angular development at Bitovi, which is a boutique JavaScript and UX consulting firm. So lead my team there. I do a lot of conference talks. Used to do a lot of blogging, trying to ramp back up on that. And Kombucha Brewing. I just loaded up a new batch on last Tuesday. So yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
are you like hardcore kombucha, like no flavors, like if it doesn't hurt it's not kombucha, or are you like berries and coconut and
I do flavoring, but I do a 3F process for my flavoring.
okay.
Yeah, because I'm that person. Bleep. See, I got myself. Yeah. So when I brew kombucha, I do what's called the continuous brew method. And so I've got like I don't know, probably like a 5-gallon brew jar. It might be more than that, whatever, it's huge. I had a friend like build a custom stand for me. So that's my base unflavored brew. And so that's pretty much going on all the time. And so then you just top off bottles and then you add more to it, because the way kombucha works, it's a misnomer. The SCOBY is not that thing on top. That's just like the pedestal. The SCOBY is actually the kombucha itself. It's the symbiotic colony of yeast and bacteria. And so that just sits there and continues fermenting. So you can tap off and put it into smaller bottles.
Okay.
So what I do is I tap it off. I put it into the smaller bottles, the Gourlash that they're called, that have like the flip stopper thing.
There's really a lot of terminology that goes into kombucha, isn't there?
Well, these are like old school like beer brewing bottles. Like if
Got
you've
it. Okay, I got it.
Yeah. That's just the name for it that you didn't know until now. So anyway, distill into that, and then that's where I flavor it. So I'll put like red bell pepper, or I did pumpkin spice one year and it carbonated and I opened it and it just like sprayed me in the face, sprayed the cat.
You
So
save that
I'll
one for celebrations.
Yes, exactly. But what you do is you flavor it, and I'll leave it, I don't know, like 3 to 7 days. And so what that's going to do is it's going to draw the flavors from whatever you put in there. But if you keep it in there longer, it'll keep carbonating and it can get explosive. So then what I do, and that's the second fermentation round. And then so what I'll do is I will strain it after a period of days, like the flavor will be there, and then I'll rebottle it and let it sit for another 7 days. And then you have like a really good carbonation amount where you get that good fizziness from it, but it's not going to explode, get everywhere. And so that's the process that I follow.
That is very exciting. I now, you know what I can't wait for? I can't wait for when it's safe to like get people together again, because I desperately want to do some like Learn with Jason, not computer stuff. Like it would be so much fun to do my partner and I for a while were doing like baking and like breakfast. We would just cook together on stream, and that was really fun.
I was creeping on a lot of those photos now that you mention it.
Yeah, they were really fun. Like we got to do all this fun stuff, but it was kind of a pain to like, I don't know, it's just setting up your kitchen into a studio is not the most fun thing to do. So I really want to be able to like
Command Z that either.
Yeah, exactly right. We definitely ruined a couple, like mostly eggs. It was always we'd get the eggs wrong on the show where we were like, yeah I overcooked those. Okay.
Oh man.
Anyways, I could literally talk about this all day. But as the chat is dead silent waiting for us to do something relevant here. So hello chat, welcome. We're going to talk about computers now. So today what we were going to talk about is something you proposed that I thought was brilliant, which is like a lot of times when we're talking about code, we're thinking about like what framework is going to make me the most efficient. What is the thing that is going to make me the most productive developer that I can be? And a lot of times we put that down to like the programming language we choose, or the should I use React or Angular, or should I use JavaScript or Rust or whatever. But a lot of us don't think about the fact that the biggest part of our productivity is the actual tools we use. And so when you brought this up, I thought, dang, that's such a good idea. So what do you think are like some of the biggest contributors to developer productivity when you start looking at it holistically like that?
Well, I think, taking control of your own tooling is the key shift here. And so, like, let's say you have maybe switched jobs or you got a new laptop or something like that. And then you go and you start trying to do what you normally do. And maybe you've customized things over time and you're like, oh gosh, wait, I have to reset up everything. That's like a common experience for a lot of us who've been in the industry for a long time. But for people new to the industry, I feel like we never talk about this stuff because it's like us organizing our desk or whatever. It's just setting up our dev environments. And so we never think about that. And so for me, as a front end developer, like my command line is definitely my go-to, especially on a Mac device. Oh man, like I have a lot of clients who are Windows users, and I'm like, oh God, I don't even know you what command to type on your Windows machine. But so like your basic command line and then customizing the way you like that, and then starting to build and use tooling on top of it is really crucial. And then from there, if we're talking a strip dev sense, you typically jump into your IDE, and then you might have that customized with a variety of plugins. Maybe you have things that are per project. Maybe you're context switching a lot and you need additional tooling. So there's a lot in the landscape there, and we could have a whole nother episode just on like calendar management and like other like communication tooling. But so I think those are like the two that we could focus on today, are like your command line, some things you may or may not know about, and just how to have fun and start customizing, and then the same in your IDE. So.
Yeah. And something that I think is interesting about this is that, what we're talking about today is not necessarily like use exactly this tool for exactly this purpose. It's more about understanding the impact that the tools you choose. So what we use today isn't necessarily the thing you should use. It's more just like think about your tools and how they can extend and be customized for the way that you work, and also your level of familiarity. Like people who know Vim really well are incredibly productive in Vim. If I use Vim, I'm incredibly unproductive in Vim. And that's not to say that I couldn't become productive. It's just that I'm so far in my career, which, we're getting 20 years in, it's probably a sign that that's like permanent, but I have not been willing to suffer the learning curve, right? Because I feel like there's probably a lot to gain, but there's also wonderful tools like VS Code. And so for me, the trade-off's not worth it. For other people, the trade-off is worth it. And when they do stuff in Vim, they look like freaking wizards. But it's such a personal thing, and it should be shaped around like what you feel comfortable with and what makes you feel productive, and not what somebody else tells you, like, oh, you have to do it like this, or you're, especially when they tack on crap like, or you're not a real developer. It's like, get out of here with that. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You know what that reminds me of is I was reading, I was prepping for a presentation, and I was reading the 2021 Stack Overflow survey, and people were still listing Notepad++ as an IDE. Wow. And I was like, okay, honey, like we get it. You're so cool that you don't need an editor. But like, and it wasn't an insignificant number. It was like at least 3 or 4 up from the bottom. And
I think it's amazing. Like, I love that I'll still see people using IDEs that I thought were like done for, like there's stuff that, and I'm not going to name names because I don't want to make it sound like any IDE is old or uncool, but it's cool to see that like you can be productive anywhere. And now there's even stuff like, I just had a conversation with the GitHub team about code spaces, and like code spaces, now you don't even need an IDE. You can just straight up like run your whole development environment in your browser, which means that you can like have a tablet with a keyboard attachment, and that can be your whole dev environment. And that's so cool. Like that, it's just such a powerful thing to think about, the fact that like you can be productive with any setup. It's more about customizing it to yourself than about picking the right thing, right?
This episode not sponsored by Apple's new MacBook Pro.
Right. I mean, those are great. Like, yeah, like I don't have one of those yet. A couple of my coworkers have gotten them and they're like, oh my God, it's so fast. And I'm like, do I really want to spend that much money on a computer though?
Yep. Oh, too funny. But yeah, like I feel like this idea that I had was inspired by the last time we were collaborating. And that's why I think Twitch is so fun and things like this are so fun, is because you get to see somebody else's environment and they may have used tools that you've never heard of, or, you know, all sorts of different things. And there's a lot of that we've lost out on in a remote environment of just seeing how other people operate and the tooling that they've put together. And so that kind of led me down the path of you telling me about Starship and then me kind of reading into that. And then thinking about a problem that I run into daily that pisses me off, that I was able to write a custom module for in Starship and solve my problem. And so that's the power of tooling that I think people should take away from this, is like, you know, those little things that annoy you or extra keystrokes that you find yourself making or things you don't want to deal with. These are all things that if you spend 5 minutes out of, you know, your frantic code pushing day, you can think, oh, well, I could do this.
Right.
I could change the, you know, folder that Slack downloads into, like by default. Maybe I don't want it to go here. Maybe I want it to go to a custom folder, or anytime I do like rapid fire screenshots or something like that. There's a lot of utilization that we can do that we don't think about, that I want to encourage people to think about.
You bring up so many good points. And so I think it honestly might just be easier to like dive in and start looking at this stuff, because the abstract, I think we could go all day. But I love just kind of seeing it in action. So let's switch over to pair programming. And while we're doing that, I'm going to start by letting everybody know that we have live captioning on this episode, like every episode. That is provided by White Coat Captioning. We got Jordan hanging out with us today. And you can find that on the homepage. That is made possible by our sponsors, Netlify, Fauna, and Auth0, all of whom are kicking in to make this show more accessible to more people, which means a lot to me. And we are talking today with, not that browser, get over here. We're talking to Jennifer Wadella. So if you want to follow somebody who is both funny and smart on Twitter, that's a good one. Go get that follow in. So yeah, with that, why don't we just close this right on down and let's talk about like how we set up our environments. So you mentioned one thing that I think is so worth mentioning. I take a lot of screenshots and it makes me, I hate a messy desktop. Like you can see here, look at my empty desktop. There's nothing on it, right? And that's because I changed my default screenshot location to be a hidden folder. And now all my screenshots go in here, and I just put them in the dock so that I can like, oop, those are my screenshots, right? Like, it's so nice. Like I love stuff like that.
Well, and I feel like I saw one of those really clickbaity articles, like 10 things you can do to optimize your development workflow. And they're like really simple changes that you might not, know how to go and use your tooling, but it's really easy to do. And then it's just like one of those things that you didn't think would make your life that much better, and it somehow does. It's like, yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. It just like, it's little stuff that when you do it, you're like, this feels like a lot of work to set this thing up. And then you have it and you're like, oh, it's amazing. Like, it's so good. Wait, I'll show you one of my favorites. So one of my favorites is that right now I have very few aliases because I never remember them. But one that I have this S, which is get status.
Okay.
And it does like a formatted get status. So if I actually like change some of my my code in here, instead of the big messy get status, did that actually save? Save. There you go. You get this really nice, like, this one was modified, and it's super clean, and it's super simple. And all I have to do is type S to make that work. And like that tiny little thing probably saves me 200 keystrokes a day. And
absolutely,
it's just little things like that I don't have to think about anymore. I can't even remember the command that I'm typing to get this formatted thing. I'd have to pull up my dot files, which I do have, so I can share those. Do you do this this like public dot files thing?
I don't, but I need to. I was going to say, like, one of the things I do, I was in an environment a while ago, and you would always have to do like get reset dash dash hard, I think. And there was some other command that I could never remember. And so I just ended up aliasing on my computer as git unbleep. And would just run that anytime I want to do like a hard reset, or the same thing. If you just want to like blow stuff away, aliasing a command that's going to automatically delete your node modules folder, especially if you can never remember that folder delete command, and then rerun npm install. So there's a lot of cool stuff that we can do with aliasing.
Nice. Yeah. The aliases are so powerful.
Yep.
And like, so we can look at a little bit of these, but I don't want to get onto my stuff. I want to talk about your ideas, because I desperately want to steal them.
But I do want to make sure that we go through and show people, okay, we're talking about aliases. Like, where do we start? Where is our home base for this? And for, most people, that's probably going to be their bash profile.
Bash profile. Yes, absolutely. Bash profile is, where's mine? Here, bash RC. Wait, no, I think I switched to ZSHart. Did I? Yeah.
I have both on my machine still. But yeah.
I think this is it. So like here is, this is my git alias, right? Is this git status -sb, and that gives you like a cleaner setup.
Yep. So if we look at that, that S is whatever command you're going to type in the terminal, and then in the quotes is going to be the command that you want, or commands that you want run. Yep.
Yeah. And then I have a couple other ones that I use. Like this one makes a shortened git link, like the git.io. Do I have other things in here? There's not a lot. I don't do a lot in here. I have my, GU is like my get everything from upstream. Nice. I need to fix that though, because I've changed my default branch to main. Clearly I don't use this one very often. I forgot it was there. Some to make me smile, like instead of cargo for Rust, I use Corgo because that makes me happy. Okay. This is easily the biggest thing that I've ever added that has saved my entire life. Let me make this a little bit bigger so everybody can see what's happening here.
It's too pixelated for me to read.
I have aliased the remove command to the trash command. So trash, instead of deleting things permanently, puts them in your recycling bin. And the reason this is important is that I have in the past typoed on a remove command and like deleted an entire folder. Or once, when I first installed this, was I started like a rimraff from my home folder because I typoed. Like I was trying to do remove everything in the home folder / like some folder, and I missed the / and hit enter. And so I just started deleting my home folder, which is everything. So I control C'd out of that really fast, and it only lost some data. It didn't brick anything, thank goodness. But it was one of those like, holy crap. Okay, how do I make sure that never happens again? And I think it was John at Egghead was like, you should do this alias. And I was like, oh, this is brilliant. That's such a good idea. And now if I accidentally delete my home folder, it just goes into the recycle bin. I can just drag it back.
Oh, I love it.
But yeah,
I love it.
So lots and lots of really cool things that you can do that are just so powerful. And yeah, it all starts in these Z shell RC or bash RC. And like, I'm pulling in environment variables here that I use. I'm pulling in my Starship initialization, so that and Starship is what like formats my terminal here with all these goodies. That's Starship. Okay. Anyways, so that's my stuff. So where should we go first if we want to start playing around here?
Well, I was going to say, so let's walk people through maybe, okay, they want to get to, have what Jason has. How would they get started with Z Shell? How do they get that on their machine?
Isn't it installed by default in Mac now?
Is it?
I thought it was. I could be wrong.
It's been a while since I've set up a new machine.
I feel like I didn't switch willingly. Like I switched under duress because the default changed.
Well, and I think I've switched to, like, I've used it for so long that it's just my automatic, like, oh, okay, I need to go get this because I want my, because what does it come out of the box with? Like auto completion. So I think that's the first thing that gets me when you start typing and then you tab to complete a folder name, or is that?
Yeah, so I mean that one is huge. Like, so if I go to my GitHub folder, for example, and then I go to like tab and
Yep.
it completes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is kind of game changing for me.
Yeah, it's like the first thing that like annoys the crap out of me when I start
Yeah.
doing anything.
Chad is confirming that Z Shell is the Mac OS default now.
Wow. Okay, cool. And I'm learning something today too. So sweet. All right. So in that case, if you're in your local machine, and let's say people are like, ooh, this aliasing is a really good idea. How are you going to go and access that source file that they need to be putting their code in, like on their environment? Like what would be their way to get there?
So the way that I do it is I go here and then I would hit like bash RC, or in this case it's Z Shell RC.
Yep.
And then that will open it up in your code editor. Now this is assuming you've installed the code.
Yeah, if you just do
from VS Code,
open, it'll just do it in the plain text. I don't even remember what it is on
Notepad. Text
is it
edit.
Notepad? Text edit. There we go. Yeah.
So you can also.
And honestly, like this is typically what I do because I am a consultant and I have like 4 different clients at any given time, which means like 4 different Visual Studio Code. And so if I'm doing edits in here, I just need this little piece of my screen to see it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so we start saving commands, and somebody new to kind of editing their setup might save something, go and try and do something in the command line, and it doesn't work. And so one of the things you need to know is when you're making changes to your file, you need to source that, like get it, I don't know what's a good explanation for this, get those changes picked up by your command line or open up a new window.
Right, yes. So once you make a change, like if we just do a new alias.
Yep.
And we'll call this alias boop, and it will do like an echo, just escape this because that's the only way I know for sure will work. And we can say, hi chat.
Yeah.
And then we save that. Then I come out here and I run boop and nothing happens. But if I source it, it works. So we can very quickly kind of do all that. And that's way nicer than the other thing you would have to do, which is like, we got to quit it and then we got to reopen it and then it pulls it back in. So just remembering to source whenever you make a change is really helpful. Yep.
And so understanding like this is a file that your instance is running every time it boots up. So like when Jason is using Starship, it's able to find that because he's executing that in his Z shell file. So. Yep. So I feel like those are like nuances where people have never like encountered this concept before. This is new to them. This might be like a stumbling block to be aware of.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So before I guess, so the inspiration for this was me trying to solve a problem with Starship. And so I went and started looking at the documentation, and Starship right out of the box provides a lot of really nice utility that you were seeing for Jason. So it's showing you like the repository you're in, showing you the branch you're in. Is it showing you the node version by default, I think?
So if it detects that it's a node project, then yes. So if I go into like the Learn with Jason site, then it picks up the package JSON version and it picks up the node version. And so like I can change that. If I do like nvm use 14, it'll change out and say now we're in node 14, right? And then if I change back, it goes back to 1611. So it shows the Git branch, shows the package version, shows the node version. And then I also have this alias set up. This is a really good idea from Chris Biscardi, which is to configure it so that your repos show up as a link, because then if I want to open this, I can just hold command and click on it to open this repo in my browser. So this is hugely convenient when you're working on this stuff. And if you look at the path for this, it's a GitHub folder, and then I create a folder for each org, and then the repo gets cloned into there. So the folder structure matches my GitHub structure, and that way I can do this replacement. Like when I'm in the GitHub folder, map it to github.com, and that does everything I need.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Yeah. So the problem I kept running into is I work on a lot of enterprise clients, and they might be on their own internal NPM registries. So just like you talked about MVM, Node Version Manager, that's a really great tool that I've actually been kind of coaching people who are developers and maybe they're new to front end on,
Mm.
is, being able to hop node versions between projects or as you upgrade or testing things is really, really crucial. And I feel like maybe less people use it now because our tooling has gotten a lot better. And so they don't even know it's out there. But having Node Version Manager on your machine is really, really helpful. But then the other one is npmrc, which is the registry control.
Yes.
And so this allows you to switch node registries. So instead of, getting everything from npm.com, you might have to point to a different like protected registry sometime.
Yeah. So this is NVM and npmrc is here.
That's going to pull up the docs for it. You want the
package.
the next one down, the package. Yeah, there you go. I'm good at words today. There we go. Yep.
Switch between npmrcs. That's really nice.
And so this is really nice. So instead of having to go and update a file every time, you can just create your different profiles and then switch between them. And so they just take wherever you want that registry to be pointing to, and then you can just type npm-rc and then whatever profile that you want to switch to. So like client A, client B, client C, and switch between those really, really quickly. And then you can also list out your available ones just by typing in npmrc. So this is something I use a lot. That being said,
right, this makes sense for you because you're working with clients. Clients have private registries and private packages. When I was at IBM, I used to do this all the time. We had different registries set up for different things. But now, like in my job today, I'm very blessed to never have to deal with private registries. So I'm very happy that I don't need this feature. But especially working on like client work or enterprise size teams, this sort of thing, it's that little DevOpsy just administrivia that eats up minutes of every day and breaks your context, and then you can't figure out why a thing that always works isn't working, and it's crap, I'm using the wrong config file. Like just little stuff like that is so nice to just automate.
And that's what leads me to like the module that I wrote for Starship, because that would be my problem is I'd be context switching between clients. Maybe I'd be working on a presentation. I'd, spin up a new demo repo, run npm install. What do you mean package not found? What do you, and then it and when you're contexting that fast, you're like, wait, did I miss something? Like, oh, maybe like I need to clear my node module. No, I'm on the wrong registry. I'm a dumbass. And so what I really wanted is the ability to just like automatically in my command line see what registry I'm on, so I have that nice visual indication. Yeah.
So you just threw it right in here.
Yeah, I did.
Ooh, that's cool.
You bet I did. And luckily one of my clients has like a very recognizable icon that I was able to use. And then with having nerd fonts installed, which we should look at because that's how you're getting a lot of these really nice symbols, like that branching symbol.
Yes.
I was also able to get just like the npm icon, like their logo, and so that's what shows up in my terminal when I'm on the default registry. So if you've ever seen people with like cool ligatures or anything in their editors or these cool symbols that you see in the command line, they're not there by default. These are special fonts that you need to install for these toolings to use to represent the different things. And then when you get into start customizing, being aware of what's out there can help you do some really, really cool stuff. So I feel like this is like information that people sometimes don't realize, like having a font available for this instead is really, really great. What do you use, Jason, for your machine?
I have a stack of operator mono, which is a font that I paid for, and then a nerd font that falls back for all the icons.
Oh, gotcha.
So I think if we look at here, I think, nope, that's not it. It's in the
go to text, right?
And then I have operator mono, and then a non-ASCII source code pro as the fallback. And so that lets things kind of fall back properly and hit what I want, which is for everything to be VS Code, unless it doesn't have the icon. And this source code, I liked this icon better, which is why I chose it. The branch icon.
Yep. But
was very important to me.
It is commonly used, so I feel you there.
But yeah, so I mean, these nerd fonts are incredible, and I just, I love the fact that you can do this stack, right? And because there are, like, you can just install one of these and it will work. The one that I am using as my backup was, what was it called? It was called source code. So down here, if I can find here, source code. So this is the fallback font that I use, but you could just use this and it would look great. Like if I turned off operator mono, I paid for operator mono. I figured, why not? Like I'll use it. And so, but these are so cool for being able to just come in here, you download it, you install it, and now you've got a cool font with these icons available, which is so dang cool. Like, it is really nice that you can just like, oh, look at all of these cool icons that you can use for GitHub.
Yeah, and like, all the tooling that you're used to, like, framework versions, all sorts of things. There's a lot of power and automation you can do. Yes, give us lots of good visual indicators of what's going on in our lives.
It's so slick. It's so nice. And also, what's up, Alex? Thank you for the raid. Welcome, everybody. We are learning about tuning a dev environment. So right now we're talking about nerd fonts. We've been talking about configuring our CLI. So Z Shell, Starship, NVM, npmrc, all those sorts of fun things. And thank you for the sub, Ben. Welcome. All right, y'all. Okay, so we've got nerd fonts. We can see here that is what I'm using in my terminal. I've got source code, and then I'm stacking that underneath operator mono so that I have a nice terminal setup here. Okay. And then you can also see, if you want to see exactly how I do my setup in my dot files, where are my dot files? Here. I have my Starship config inside of config. And so this is where you can see exactly what I'm doing. Nikki, yeah, this week is the most learning week we've ever had. I have 8 streams this week. So we did 3 yesterday, 1 today, 2 tomorrow, 1 Thursday, 1 Friday. It's going to be happening. I hope y'all hang out. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, so like, check this out. Look how quick this is to do this GitHub thing, right? So I was like, hey, if I'm in my GitHub directory, replace it with github.com. That's pretty wonderful. Node, same thing. Here's the format. And then I like disabled Google Cloud because I have that CLI installed, but I don't use it very often. Same with AWS. Like I didn't want it because it shows a bunch of stuff about what region you're on and what version of the CLI. And I was like, that's too much info. I don't need that info. So I turned that stuff off.
Yep.
Git branch, I actually changed it because it pissed me off so much.
Nice. So real quick, as we're looking at this, so like when you install Starship, this is like the base file that it comes with, right? You don't have to create this from scratch. I don't remember that part.
I think you don't need anything, like it defaults. So I believe these are all customizations that I made.
Oh, so this is all customization.
Yeah,
so,
I think this toml is completely optional when you use it, and if it's only if you want to modify it that you have to create one.
Okay, that's the part that I couldn't remember. Because you have to kind of like show ordering or change things around and know where to put them. But if you're reading through the documentation, and I feel like this, it took a little bit of understanding, but like these different packages, I think we're calling modules here. And so if you're trying to do something in Starship, your step number 1 is going to say, okay, let me troll the documentation. Let me look at all the modules available. Let me see their configuration. Like, I think there's one that'll show your battery power, for instance. Battery.
Wow.
Boom, there we go. Right? Yeah. And so there are all these default modules available that you can go and start to customize the way you want them to look, color changes, all sorts of things. So that's kind of the vocabulary that's going on there.
It shows you that when it's it's like, this is a warning. You're hacking away and your battery goes below 10%, and it's like, yo, you should probably commit this.
Actually, we should write that. We should do that customization. Well, I don't know if we could test it, because like, unless you really want your computer to get down to 10%, but like,
Yeah,
you could customize it. Instead of showing a battery icon, be like, yo, commit your code now.
I love it. I mean, it's so fun. And it just has a threshold too. Like, so you can just set the threshold to be a different thing. So like, actually, if I do this right now,
Yep.
If I go into my starship.toml, actually,
Yep.
You know what we can do that'll be fun? I'm just going to push the button.
Uh-oh.
Do y'all ever use this? This is like the most magical thing. So you can just like, oh, let me just pop this thing open. And then we can go down here and I can save this and then we'll commit it.
Okay.
And I'm going to say like, oh wait, no, I want to make the threshold. Let's make it 100 because my computer is in and I just want it to show me the battery all the time. So we'll say feature show battery in prompt. And it commits, right? So that's all committed. So then down here, I can go back to my home directory and pull. What are my unstaged? Oh, is this because
we were putting those aliases in there?
Yeah. And then because we just made changes, we're gonna source it.
And I think somebody in the comments spotted that too. It was a little bit blurred on my screen. Did you have 2 brackets?
It looked like that's what they put in the config.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's like
well, because I know when I've done like my custom commands, it's just 1 bracket. So I don't know if that was a typo.
I wonder if it's because it's like in an array. Toml is I'm not gonna lie, Toml is very mysterious, right?
I was Googling a lot.
So I think
what does it stand for? Is it Todd's
It is legitimate. It legitimately stands
language?
for Tom's obvious markup language, which is like, and that Tom, by the way, naming and shaming is Tom Preston Warner. How dare you? Oh, minimal language, not markup language. No, yeah. So Tom's obvious minimal language. Here's the thing. Toml does so much, and so I'm not trashing its utility. I struggle a little bit with languages that are so flexible that like all of this is valid, and you just have to try stuff until something works. You just like, okay,
I want more guardrails. I want some sort of syntax error, please.
Yeah, and there we go. Look, we got it.
YAML.
We got a battery.
Nice.
It seems to think my battery is 97%, which is okay. Why though? Whatever, it's fine. But I love this. Like, I love that it's showing these this like battery percentage. That's so much fun. And you know, that it's just cool that you can do this kind of stuff, right? That you can just be like, oh yeah, I want my terminal to let me know if my battery's low on my computer. Unbelievable. Magic. Chat saying it's time to service my battery. You're probably right. This is a very old computer.
Nice.
Okay, so now that we know how to configure Starship, what do you want to look at next?
Do we want to talk about doing custom stuff?
Yes.
Because like if you want to start, and that's where I was kind of going, like, hey, here's all these cool modules that are available. What if what you want doesn't exist here? How do you go about building that? Yep. So what you can do is you can create a custom module. And so they do have, it's in the doc somewhere where you can custom commands. There we go. Yep. And so this lets you know how to get started. And that way you can kind of take in whatever you want. You might have to run a different command. So for instance, when I wanted to deal with my behavior where I wanted to show whatever registry I was on, I wanted to basically do some if logic and say, okay, if whatever registry, then show this symbol, else show this symbol. And then the thing I had to think about is like, all right, how do I figure that out? And so what you can do is you can have it taken a command. So if I want to know what I'm on, I do npm config get registry, then I can take the output of what that is and do my string comparison to show whatever symbol I want.
Oh, nice,
So
nice.
yeah, instead of just like plugging and playing options, you can put logic into this and use that to display the kind of things that you care about.
Gotcha. That's very cool.
Yes. I believe there's an entire thread on their GitHub repo as well, just about all sorts of custom modules that people have written that you can pretty much copy and drop into your environment.
Nice. That's very cool. Should I just do a thing, like just build a thing, or wait, do you literally just put it right in?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, you just slap it in that file, and then order matters. So let me pull up my file real quick, because I don't remember how I did that. Because that's the thing I was trying to figure out is, well, and actually I don't know if I did, but figuring out what order to get things to display in, or if you want something not to display, you might have to just put it in your file and then turn it off, I think. Okay. But that was one of the things that was hard for me to figure out. But yeah, we could write something completely custom if you want. And yeah, you just name it whatever.
Okay, so let's do that. So I'm going to open, nope, not that. I'm going to open my Starship. Oh, because this didn't open the actual folder. This was nope. Config Starship. There we go. And now we're just in here. This should be. Oh, I thought
Wait, oh. Okay, so scroll up actually. I think. Oh, weird. Okay, mine is different. I've got a lot of my default commands at the very, or all my modules at the very top. Oh, okay. So here's how it goes: is you can list out the modules, and those are going to alias whatever you name your new custom module. That's how it works.
Okay. Yeah. And so if we wanted to do, we can do something that we can fake, like a command that just returns something different based on whatever, and then show a different symbol. But so if I want to start, let's do this.
Ooh, I have an idea.
Yeah, let's do it.
Maybe we combine one of my completely useless favorite things to install in my CLI, Ponysay.
Uh-huh.
And we just output the alias of the basic Ponysay command.
Yes.
So I think you can you probably don't have it, but I think you can just do brew install Ponysay, or is it brew install or just brew Ponysay? I don't remember.
I don't know. Let's find out. Let's see if it's going to install all of Brew. Oh boy, lots of things failing. This is not a good sign. My Xcode is outdated. Oh, so many problems. Oh boy.
Oh, but this is also like how much better our lives have gotten as developers, even over the last 5 years. Like, I remember having to fight with uninstalling Node, uninstalling npm, reinstalling Brew, and then installing everything via Brew, or all sorts of weird errors would happen. Because I think Brew just comes default with OS X now, right?
Does it come default now? I'm not sure if it comes default, but it effectively is a default. Like I can't remember a time when I didn't have Brew installed on a machine, just because you always need it for something, and it's so much more pleasant to use Brew than to I'm going to download this zip, and then I have to run a tar extract command, and then I have to execute that, and it all just makes me ooh.
Yeah, you have to copy and paste things, and instead you can just run Brew whatever, and maybe if it's not installable via Brew, you shouldn't be installing it anyway.
Yeah, except I think my Brew might be toast. I'm very worried that this is going to get bad. So the joy of this show is that I touch all sorts of things, and a lot of times I don't really think about what I'm doing when I'm doing it, because it's part of the episode, and then months later I need to touch that same thing, and I don't know what I changed about the config that broke it, but it's definitely broken.
I mean, we could kill it and try it just like the copy paste way.
We could. Let's go look at what pony say is while we let this go. So here's.
So if you're coming from Python, you might know what cow say is, which is literally just ASCII art of cows. Pony say takes it up a notch
so
and gives
good.
you peak My Little Pony. Not only are all your favorite pony friends there, there's a pony for every pony. They have different ones. So there's like, I identify strongly with Twilight Sparkle. She's a neurotic control freak like I am. And so she's got some good iterations that are available.
Okay, so this says to clone the project, so we can I love that it does just the CLI like that. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna stop this because this is definitely not gonna work, and I'm gonna move into GitHub, and then I'm gonna do my normal thing that I do. So I'm gonna make a new directory called Erkin, and then inside of that I'm gonna run this GitHub repo clone command. So in we go to Ponysay. Then we're gonna find out if I've broken my Python on this machine, which is just so possible. And we're gonna run the install command, which was this one.
And I feel like I have had trouble doing it manually this way before, so we'll see what we run into. But it was a couple years ago, so maybe we're fine now.
It's all no permission error. No, operation not permitted. What? Copying pony install to pony say. Do I need to like it, but is it there now? Uh-oh, we beach balled. Well, it was a good run, everyone. This is the final episode of Learn with Jason. We finally bricked it. Oh, look at this. It knew that it was Python, and now it's showing me a snick.
Oh, nice.
There it is. Okay, but I spelled it wrong.
Is it a snicky snake?
Snicky snake. Okay, so that didn't work. Because... Is there a different thing I can try? There was like a different command. This one, maybe. Without private.
Ooh.
No, operation not permitted. I don't have to run this with sudo, do it. That seems really dangerous. I'm not.
Yeah, that might be a little bit too risky for the show.
Well, okay. Well, I don't know why. If installing only the completely free ponies, what does that mean?
I don't know. I've never paid for my ponies.
Can you pay for ponies?
Come on, it's pay to play. It's a very effective model.
Operation not permitted. Okay, so I think this is some kind of permissions issue. I'm not 100% sure why. Should be installed to user local bin, but I really don't want to run this from sudo. I mean, I'm sure that I can. It just feels like, well,
it's okay. We can skip out. Can you just do Kause?
Do I have Kause? No.
There's
do
no
I have anything fun in my terminal at all? Jeez. How does Kause get installed?
Probably a similar way.
Oh, Kause is npm installable, so that's gonna be fine. We'll just do that. I'm just gonna npm install global Kause. And then.
Oh, boo.
Then we can just Kause.
Classic but goodie.
It's so silly. Okay, so now we have Kause, and we can Kause that.
Okay.
Nyanse exists, of course it does. Let's go back in here, and now we want to make a custom thing for Kause. So would I just throw this at the bottom, or?
Yeah, and you can just do like bracket custom dot Kause.
Okay.
And then so we've got to pass in a couple options. So one thing it can take is a command. And so in that case, we want to output something from that command, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be command, just type it out. Cause again, it's TOML, it's the wild, wild west. We don't know what's going to happen. And then equals, and then I think you can just put the command in there. I don't remember syntax exactly off the top of my head.
Is it just
So cow say hi chats. Yeah.
okay.
And then, oh, actually, you know what? No, do we need to echo that or not? I can't remember. I think it might just run as is.
Should echo. I think it echoes by default, but I guess we can, if it doesn't work, we'll pipe it to echo or something.
Okay, cool. And then I would assume we would just see the output of that at the end of your, I don't even know what you call that line. Is there a special word for it?
I think is it just it's the prompt, right?
Yeah, I guess but the precursor to the prompt,
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Okay, so does it need to match something for that to work? Because I think it's
so let's see here. So how did I do mine? Sorry, let me find my file real quick. Use custom format. It's been a while since I did this. Do you still have the docs pulled up? Is there any other step we're missing?
So it looks like files that will be searched in the working directory for the match. When shell command used as a condition to show the module. So I could just say when true, right?
Yes, that's right.
And then that should just work every time. So let's source it.
There we go. Nice.
It's so silly.
But here's what I'm confused about is how do you change the order? Because look, your battery is still last, right? Well, actually, I can't quite tell.
I think if we do it like this.
Yeah. And that'll put a break in for us and look nicer.
Nope, definitely does not. That's probably because it needs something that I'm not doing and don't understand. Do I have to double escape this? I bet I do. Bash scripting. Nope. I don't know.
Sad face.
Doesn't matter. But the fun part is, I wonder if it strips it because it's trying to put it all in the prompt.
Maybe. But we can make it more fun. We can change the color. So you could do style equals.
Style equals.
And then, I don't know, what do we want our cow to be?
Clearly bold pink.
Okay.
Nope, I got it wrong. That's not a color, apparently.
Just pink?
Is pink not an allowed color?
I don't know.
I don't think it's an allowed color. Okay, so let's try a different one. We'll do bold red. Okay, so it's just
red cow. Murder cow.
Murder cow. So I mean, but this is what I love about this is we could do something for example, we could do, if I could remember how this stuff works, how do we, if we want to match in bash for the directory name, it would be pwd, and then you pipe that into no, this is wrong. Anybody remember this stuff off the top of their heads? What I'm trying to think.
I live in Google what I need at the moment land when it comes to this stuff.
Pony say extra characters at the end of the... Yeah, I screwed this up. Okay. Don't remember exactly how that happens. There's config for the prompt. So let's see what that looks like. Starship config prompt. For some reason, I could not click that link. So we can set the position.
Oh.
Right format. Inserts blank line. Oh, okay, I get it. Inserts blank line. Custom format, and then you can kind of throw all the pieces together. Oh wait, I think I did this at one point and it let me, because then you would like put in Cowsay here.
Yes. And I mean, that's okay. So that's what I have in my file too, is like I list out all the modules that I care about. So like some of the pre-existing ones, and then I add in my custom one at the end.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think.
like that.
Yep. Yep.
It's cool. Okay, yeah. So
Yeah. And then,
lots
yeah.
of fun stuff in there that we can do. So yeah, what I was gonna do is I was just gonna check if we were in a certain folder and then only add it then, but rather than everybody watching me Google how sed works, we're just gonna move on. So there, I mean, I guess all of that to say, this is pretty bottomless. You can do anything you want in here, like because once you get to this stage here, this is any command. So you could run like a custom bash script, and like one that I'm thinking of that would be kind of fun is like I could hit my API to find out when my next meeting is, and like put a reminder that when the next meeting is 5 minutes away, it's like finish up, because like this is I get my 10-minute reminder. I'm like, oh, 10 minutes is too far away, so I'll just do this one quick thing, and then I'm 10 minutes late to the meeting. I
wonder if you could also build a cool like Pomodoro timer into your command line. That would be fun.
Oh, also fun. Like, yeah. So, I mean, the sky's the limit here. Like, clearly we could go deep on this and it would be absurd, but fun. But yeah, so I mean, like, I just I love this. Like, I love that. First of all, I love that we were able to do the custom module that quickly. And I love that, like, the conditional, we could check whatever it was. We could check whether or not I'm live right now. Like, I've already got the script written that decides whether or not we're live. So we could just throw that in and say like, hey, let's show that you're live. So you'd remember not to show any environment variables. Lots of options there.
Nice.
But so that's the command line. There's lots that we can do there. I'm gonna disable this one because I think it's gonna be very disruptive otherwise. Mm-hmm. Does that work? Can you?
I don't remember what the commented out is.
I think that works for Toml. We're gonna find out when this either works or.
Is there a VS Code plugin for Toml?
There definitely is, and we should probably find it. Let's find out. Toml.
I feel like this is a great segue into starting to modify our editor.
Better Toml.
Oh, you haven't installed?
Disabled because the current workspace is not trusted.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is okay. I get this. All right. So now that this is trusted, this should be actually enabled, which means I get my.
Oh, look at that! It's so pretty.
Hey, that's much easier to read. Okay, so I appreciate the security by default, and then I get so confused when things don't work, and then I'm like, but it's my code.
I'm 99% sure I'm not accidentally mining Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'm reasonably sure I didn't do anything to hurt myself here. All right, so looking at this and knowing that we have what, like 25 minutes left ish.
Yep.
What else should we look at? So we've got the CLI. We can customize our prompt. We can get aliases. There's tools like NVM, npmrc. Where else do you find power-ups and shortcuts here?
Let's stick with our theme of writing our own power-ups, and let's jump into VS Code and do some stuff that'll save us some keystrokes.
Absolutely.
So like back before the framework wars truly kicked off, did you use Atom as a plugin in one of your editors?
Atom.
ATOM?
Yeah. Atom was its own editor, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Was that GitHub's? I went Sublime Text 2, Atom. Atom got buggy. I went back to Sublime Text 2, and then I went to VS Code, I think. Yeah,
and then there were a few other ones in there at the same time. Like Panic had they did transmit FTP client, and then they had was it just called Code? Can't remember, but there were lots of things. Is like they still exist. These are all they're good. They work. You can use them. If you like them, continue to use them. This is no shade on any IDE. Use what works for you.
But I'm a complete spaz. I meant Emmett, not Adam. Emmett was the plugin I was looking for. Wow. It is a Tuesday, y'all. Okay, so now that we've established the baseline, do you know what I'm talking about with Emmett?
Yes, I know what you're talking about with Emmett. So I think we get a little bit with Emmett here. So if I change this to HTML and I do like this little buddy, then it'll auto expand into a full document.
Because whoever memorized this, I sure as hell never did.
Absolutely not. Like I have no memory of any of this stuff, and I always get the little things wrong. Like this one, I always forget this, and then I get a lighthouse score ding, and I'm like, "Wait, what did I do?" And then, oh yeah, I got to go add that attribute. So it's very much like little things like that save you a bunch of time, and then doesn't it do a bunch of other ones too? Like
it'll do divs if you do div dot, and then you can type in a style name. Yeah, so whatever. Bam.
And then can't you also do like
hrefs?
Yeah. Ooh, like you can do math. Like I need 3 list items, so let me do that. And I think you can get really fancy with it too, where it's like UL, and then inside of that, I want a list item. I want 3 of those, and inside of each of those, I want a paragraph with the class of label. Ta-da!
Bam.
Like this is
magical.
This is like, oh, that's cool. Like it's so handy. Just really, really powerful stuff.
Yeah, so these are really cool.
Just fancy for shorter too. Ooh. See, we're not even gonna get to the custom stuff. I'm just gonna learn how Emmett works. Oh, that's super handy. Okay, that's wonderful.
Yeah. So, a lot of keystrokes that we're saving here by kind of memorizing some basic commands. And then the other thing, will you do another list item real quick?
Yes.
Like another 3 lists or 3 items. Yes, I can talk. So a thing I feel like is good to point out is does everybody use multi-cursor for stuff? Especially bulk refactoring?
You should.
Yeah. So a lot of people.
Can we get a W in the chat if you were using multi-cursor?
Are we gonna blow some minds?
Okay. So good.
All right.
So good.
Okay. Just making sure, but that's magic that is easy to miss if you're a new developer, that you're like, how are you doing that? Ben doesn't support it. Losers.
Ben just said, imagine I typed that W on multiple lines at once. Absolutely, yes. I love it.
Do you ever do this when you're in the code base and then you go in a Word doc and you're like, Command D, what? Where's my multi-cursor? It's the worst.
I know it and actually that's a good point, is once you're in here, now if I hit Command D, I can say, well, we can swap out every instance, and I think you can also, there's another shortcut that I forget, which is select every instance. Where is it? Next, select all. So Command Shift L will give you all of them at once. What? Okay, clearly that didn't. I probably overrode that shortcut because I don't use it very much. But yeah, so for me, nice. I just tap Command D. That's faster because I don't remember it. Nice. I love this. This is a very handy tip. Okay, so we've got our Emmett, we've got our multi-cursor. We're in business here. Yeah. And you're saying we can take this further.
We can take this so much further. And this is a really good base level because it's what you're trying to do, and they're repeated patterns over and over and over again. And so, you might be copy pasting around or something like this, or what you can do is you can start to build your own custom code snippets to help you repeat code. And a really great use case for this is maybe you're on a team and, there's a web component library that you guys are using. You could build custom snippets to implement these different elements in your code. And there's not only that, but then you can manipulate the cursor. And so if somebody runs a command to put a snippet of code in, you can manipulate where their cursor is to save them even more time to start automatically filling out those dynamic pieces of data that you care about.
Absolutely.
So there's, just the code you want to do, but then that speed of giving somebody the ability to edit that snippet they've dealt with, that can give you a lot of power and boost for anything that your team is working on. So,
yeah. Okay. So let's make one. What should my first move be?
I think we have to create a preferences file. It's been a while, and then we can kind of look through things. So I think in VS Code, it's go to preference.
Okay, so I'm going to show everybody my favorite VS Code, which is Command-Shift-P. And this lets you just open up like a general search box. So snippets, configure user snippets. That seems right. How
that's
about that?
What we want.
I'm going to configure user snippets, and then I want to do a new snippets.
Yep.
And what should this one do?
Awesome things.
It will do awesomeness.
Cool.
And so now.
Yeah. So let's kind of look through this, because you're going to be creating an object that's got all these different items I can't even speak, attributes. And so this is going to kind of define what's going on. So if we look at this example starting on line 9, what you're seeing there, the print to console, is kind of the text of what this snippet is going to do. And then inside those brackets, we've got different things. So the first one is scope. And so the scope is going to apply based on the kind of file that you care about. So if you've got a code snippet that is an HTML, you're only going to want that to be available in HTML files. And so you can give whatever language that you're dealing in, that's going to be that scope of that code snippet. Next up is you've got prefix. And so that's just going to be I can't remember if it's the prefix of like what goes in front of it, or if it's for better organizing of your code snippets. That part I'm completely blanking on.
I think prefix is that's what'll expand, right? So if we do like a shortcut,
yes, that's right.
4 V's, right? And
yep.
a thing about snippets that I have found out the hard way is that if your snippets are just words, it gets very confusing. So typically your snippets should be like truncated words, or like do this thing. Something like that, and as opposed to just like this, because if you do this, you will write this sentence somewhere and it will explode, and you'll be like, "What just happened?"
Let's call our prefix like fake WC, like fake web component library.
Okay.
And so, I know I want to create a, custom snippet that maybe it's going to represent a date picker, and it's automatically going to populate everything that I care about. So that's what we've got there. And so when you go to start using this, you type fake WC, then you're going to get presented with your list of snippet options.
Okay.
Cool. All right. So the body is what is actually going to be rendered by that custom snippet. And so I don't know if we want to like copy and paste some code from like a custom web component library or something, or just make our own up. Maybe it's just like a div with an input and a label in it or something. I don't know.
Maybe I can find whatever the basic example is. Custom elements.
Sure. And like I'm coming from Angular land, so I'm thinking of like Angular material where I might copy something over and it has, different attributes that I need to fill out or something like that.
Oh, there's a lot here. How about we just grab one of these?
Yeah, that looks like a great example.
This is a great example. And so we're going to throw this in here, but I want to break it across lines. So we're going to...
So these differ from editor to editor. Yep. So you're going to have to do the string quotes for VS Code and then a comma in between. Yep.
Yeah. And so what I'm doing here is, I don't like, okay, let's do one of these. I'm going to use this multi-cursor and escape those. And then I can do this here. And then take that down, and there we go. We've got a thingy. But I kind of feel like so this is, I don't want to have to go in and like delete all this stuff.
Well, so here's where we're going to get exciting. You remember that tab completion that we care about?
Mm-hmm.
So what we can do is we can create, they're called tab spots.
Okay.
And so what that means is we can plug in a variable there. So if I activate this code snippet, my cursor after that code snippet is created is going to go to that first tab spot. and then I hit tab and it'll go to the next tab spot if there is one. So they're like two pieces. Like we're using this pop-up info component over and over and over again. We know we're going to update the image and we know we're going to update the data text. Right. So that's where we want to put our tab spots. And so the syntax for those is just $1 and then $2. And going up and up and up.
Okay.
Yep. Right. You feeling the power?
I'm feeling the power. I'm feeling very powerful here.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
If we save that now, it doesn't like it. What doesn't it like?
Unexpected comma.
Expected comma. You have a comma. Oh, I didn't put my closing.
Oh, end quote.
There we go. Okay, so now we've got
sweet
quotes in the right places, tab stops in the right places, and this is usable now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if I go back in here, and I just go fake WC, and it look, it did it.
Magic.
Pow! And then
look at your cursor.
Image thing.jpg, and I tabbed, and now it's like, wow. That's pretty dang powerful stuff that just works, right? Like, and this is one of those things that, like, so as an example, when I work on my own site, I have a React component. I use MDX to write my blog posts, and I have a React component that has the support for image attribution, alt text, captions, and a few controls around like whether or not there's a border on the image and if it's centered or like right aligned. And it's kind of a pain to remember all that stuff, but I have a snippet that'll do all that. Another really good example is that every time I do an episode of Learn with Jason, usually, I don't think this one's going to have a repo, but usually I have a repo. And so I am able to I need to create a README. So I have a README template that if I set up a new file and we make this into Markdown and I do a snippet, I have a README and it just goes in and it lets me fill out my episode slug, and then it lets me fill out the demo on Netlify, the repo on GitHub, and the description. And there's also a cool thing here, which is that the demo and the episode and the GitHub slug, I use those in multiple places. And so if you use the same tab stop, it fills out all of the tab stops at once. So you get multi-cursor in your snippets. So this is really, really, really helpful stuff.
So kind of a hidden benefit that I really like, especially if you're working in a team approach. So let's keep going with this web component instance. Maybe I'm a new developer and I don't know if something is a web component coming in from somewhere else or something that's built by my team. Mm-hmm. You can have this built-in documentation just through creating code snippets. Because if I know, okay, here's the prefix for my web component library, but maybe we have a prefix for our app name that's internally known at the company, I can use those prefixes and see everything that's available to me. So instead of having to pop open a README file or pop open, we start dumping more code snippets in here and we commit this with the code base for everybody to use. I start typing my prefix and I see everything that is available to me.
And this is one of those, so I saw somebody put up a poll on Twitter the other day that was what's the biggest benefit of TypeScript, right? And the benefit that came back was autocomplete. There are lots of benefits to TypeScript, but I think one of the biggest ones is autocomplete. And so if we think about how this goes even further than that, so I'm imagining now we have our component library, and that component library is, it's web components, it's React components, it's Vue component, whatever you want. But you have that component library and you set it up as code snippets. Each of those code snippets is TypeScript, so that when you can figure out which component you want by starting to type a snippet. And then once you've injected it, you have autocomplete, but all of that autocomplete all of the tab stops have autocomplete because it's TypeScript code. So you basically get to the point where when you're using the component library, it's more like fill in the blank than it is having to remember or Google or anything. You just kind of oh yeah, snippet, here's the image. Images always have one of these three options. That's what's in the TypeScript. So I choose one of those. It's so dang cool. It's so powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's how you can boost your team's productivity with code snippets. And, this is a very reasonable approach. You definitely have to make sure that you're maintaining, like, as new attributes get added, that kind of thing, that those are kept in sync. But again, this is a really great way to, get your teammates to love you because you're saving them keystrokes, but also make that information that much more easy and accessible for everybody to know what's available for your code base. So.
Yes. It's so dang cool. Where is this? I wonder where this went because
I think, where does that get saved? Is it under like the VS Code folder
I'm not sure.
in your project?
That's a great question.
I think you can do it at a global level, or I think you can do it at a project level. Bum, 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 bum.
It saved in snippets, user.
Okay, so that was at a global level. I'm 99% sure we can do this at a project level too.
I think you are right. So if we do like configure user snippets, right? And then I think we can also do like project.
Well, I think there was another option under user snippets.
There was.
Because I thought you could either do global or
global snippets file.
Or whatever this folder is. Was that available at the very top? I don't even know where we are.
It only wants global, but that's probably because I don't have a snippets folder in here. Let's find out. VS Code project snippets. Project snippets. Oh, that's a plugin.
I really thought it just got saved under the VS
Snippet
Code
scope.
folder.
Snippets are scoped, so only relevant snippets are suggested. So you can project snippet, global snippets, scope to your project. Configure user snippets drop-down menu located at the VS Code. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. There's probably a way to do it. I feel like there's a lot of extensions and things in VS Code to make this stuff really easy.
Yeah.
If you want to solve a problem in VS Code, you can. And if you can't, there is absolutely a way that you can just customize VS Code to do that thing for you. But I think, and that's what I think it is. Here's why I think VS Code has taken such a strong grip on the developer community. I feel like it has it has much of the kind of customizability and extensibility that people love about Vim, but the on-ramp is shallower. So like by default, you can just use it and it just works, but you can enable Vim mode in VS Code. You can build custom extensions. You can write code to manipulate the way the thing works. You can run the dang thing in the browser. Like it's such an extensible and versatile tool that doesn't hit any walls. And so I think that's one of the reasons that we've seen VS Code rise to popularity the way that it has.
Yep. That being said, if you're in Atom, if you're in Sublime, like you can write snippets in other IDEs. I do have a blog post on how to do that. So depending on your different thing that you're working in, sorry, none for Vim. You don't get any cool snippets.
I think with Vim, there is a way to do it. I feel like I've seen somebody do definitely Emmet, and I'm almost positive custom Vim. But yeah, that's an episode for another day. I think at some point I should have somebody come on and teach me Vim, because I feel like I got the book once and I spent like a week trying to use only Vim. And I think I managed to write like 50 lines of code, and I was like, this is not going to be sustainable.
Brutal.
Oh, this is cool. Nikki just linked in the chat to something called Snippet Generator, which I think will do this for us.
Yes, but I think sometimes it can be finicky. But it's helpful if you're dealing with like trying to figure out line breaks properly.
What do you got?
Yeah.
Dang. Okay, that's pretty dang cool though. And it does it for all of them.
Mm-hmm.
That is powerful stuff.
I've used this before and there was something buggy with it. It was a couple of years ago, so I don't remember what.
Yeah. I mean, even as
But
even as just a starting point, I'm pretty happy about that because it just helps
yeah.
with like the line breaks, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's nice to yeah, it gets the annoying, oh, this is an array part out of it, which I agree with. That is probably my least favorite thing about snippets is that you can't just put whatever in there. Like I kind as much as I hate to admit it, this is one place where I think TOML would be a better fit because you can do multi-line TOML responses and you just can't do that in JSON. So, all right, Tom, I take it all back. I never thought I was going to suggest TOML ever. Okay, so I mean, yeah, so this is a great tool. We'll make sure this shows up in the show notes. Okay, we've got like, oh, what's up, Allie? Welcome everybody. We're actually just kind of winding down here, so we'll be finding somebody to raid in 8 minutes. So everybody, strap in. We're gonna do kind of a recap. So first, what we did was we went through all of like how to configure your terminal. So we looked at Z shell, we looked at aliases, like this one that I have that does a git log with some better formatting, so it's more compact. We looked at editing our interface through Starship to get a better prompt so that I get this really nice, like when I go into my folders and I look at a project, it shows me like the GitHub repo link, it shows me the branch that I'm on, what version of the package it is, what node version I'm using. That's all through Starship. We did some customization, like this is the battery level. We did some customization up here that I turned off where we were able to customize it to use like cowsay in the prompt.
No pony say for Jason.
No pony say because I broke Brew on my computer. Tragedy. Yeah, Jennifer, what else did we do? What else am I not covering here?
We talked about nerd fonts and how we use those to get us, some of those nice iconography in our command line and in our editors.
Which is how I have operator mono as well as these icons here all working.
Yep.
Then we jumped into VS Code and we looked at like emit, which allows you to do things like this. And it just works, like pretty amazing stuff.
Talked about multi-cursor.
Yeah, we talked about multi-cursor so that we can do things like editing all of these all at once. And then we also built some custom snippets by getting into VS Code's custom snippet syntax and put one together that's got here tab stops so that if we want to use this, we can start typing. I'll go down here and do another one. Fake WC, it auto completes for us. We can hit enter and then we can just start typing things and say, let me go to image, yay, and then we can, and you see that I'm also able to like tab back and forth. It's very cool stuff. I keep trying to save this file that I'm not going to keep.
Rude.
But so this is I feel like these are the little things that we just accumulate, right? And I think that for a lot of developers, I spent a huge portion of my career not knowing that this stuff was really possible because I didn't even know that it was a thing you could Google or go after, right? I just kind of thought, well, you just get faster by using the tools more and not by optimizing the tools. And so this has been really, really interesting. I feel like we barely scratched the surface. So what else, like, I know we don't have time to get into it, but like, what else do you find yourself optimizing or recommending that your team optimizes to help them speed up?
I mean, it really depends on their problems. Like I do one-on-ones with my team. And so they're kind of telling me about their daily workflow and things they go into. And sometimes you're just so in the rut of it, right? That you don't even realize, oh, I could save myself some work by doing this. So it really depends on like what your day-to-day struggles with. Like my example was getting trolled by being on an internal client registry and trying to run an npm install on something else.
Yes.
So I, had the idea to jump into Starship and write a custom module that would output in my command line whatever npm registry I was currently on, whatever profile I've set. So, just looking at the problems that you're having or the dough moments that you have throughout your workday and figuring out, okay, how can I use my tooling So I spend less time doing and more time being productive, writing
Right.
code, having good conversations with people. Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm trying to think like what else I've used. I feel like the big ones really are figuring out what are the things that I truly waste a ton of time doing by just having to type them out or Google them, and then
Yep.
making and remembering the aliases for them. And then also just like look around and see if the thing that you use every day has tools to make it easier. Like the GitHub CLI is unbelievably helpful. If you remember the few commands that you need. So like this is one that I use every single day. It's so good. I live in this tool because I'm always creating new repos. I always need to check out somebody's PR. I always need to look at an issue. And this lets you do all of that right from the command line. There's also like, I work with Netlify sites all day. So the Netlify CLI is like, it's going to sort it pulls down environment variables. It runs local development. It lets me set up a ngrok tunnel so that I can share my local instance with you for live debugging. All these sorts of things that you kind of like, you need to do. You got to sync environments and you can do it manually and it's totally fine, but it's so much faster if you find a tool that takes care of it for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
The other thing about CLIs, like I coach a lot of new developers and they might be new to the Angular ecosystem, and we've got the Angular CLI, but then if you're using NX for mono repos, there's the NX CLI, which will wrap other things. And so sometimes people don't get that. So good. Yeah. But do you know they have VS Code plugins? So if people are new to it and they don't remember the commands, they've got really great VS Code plugin for it that'll be like, oh, you want to generate a module? Oh, you want to generate a library? Where should that go?
I love it.
So, yay CLI. But, if you haven't gotten comfortable, you don't know all the commands, there are often plugin routes that you can go as well.
That's so good. All right. Well, with that, we are out of time. So let me send everybody back to your Twitter. Make sure you go and get into that. Give Jennifer a follow. Also, the show had live captions all day. This show and every show does that. It's on the homepage of the site. That's provided by White Coat Captioning. We've had Jordan hanging out with us today, so thank you very much. That's made possible by the support of our sponsors, Netlify, Fauna, and Auth0, all kicking in to make this show more accessible to more people. And while you're checking out the site, make sure you go and check out the schedule because we have just ridiculous stuff coming up this week. We've got tomorrow 2 episodes. We've got Nathaniel Okenwa and Ben Vinegar coming on to help us finish out the app that we've been building for Jamstack We've been building a swag app. Nathaniel's going to help us build email notifications. So if you've ever wanted to send like an order confirmation or any other kind of email, we're going to show you how to do that. Ben is going to help us do error tracking on the app so that we can surface any client-side errors when they happen so that we don't have to figure out how to create a reproduction or things like that. On Thursday, we got Todd Libby to come in and talk about color contrast and accessibility. I'm very excited about that. We've got Aisha coming to talk about observability on Jamstack sites with New Relic, which is also incredibly cool stuff. And that's just this week. It's a marathon, y'all. So make sure you go and check that out. You can hit this add on Google Calendar button to get all of these times added to your calendar so you don't miss an episode. Make sure you follow on Twitch. You can always subscribe on Twitch if you want to kick me a couple bucks. It helps me keep the lights on and pay for all the things like captioning and stuff. Otherwise, Jennifer, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Any parting words for everyone?
No, this was super fun. I want to steal somebody's tweet.
Do it.
Be the senior developer you needed when you were a junior developer.
I love it so much. All right, y'all. That's it for this week. Jennifer, thank you again. Chat, stay tuned. We're going to go find somebody to raid. We will see you tomorrow.